The global shipping industry is the engine of world trade. It moves 90% of everything we buy, sell, and consume. Yet behind this massive flow of goods lies a constant, complex calculation: how to make a profit. Some sea routes are reliable moneymakers. Others are financial traps. This report is a map to those profits. It uses hard data to identify the most lucrative sea lanes for 2025. We cut through the noise of market speculation. We focus on the numbers that matter. Our goal is to provide a clear, data-driven guide for ship operators, investors, anyone with a stake in maritime commerce. The findings are based on real-world voyage data and cost analysis. For very large crude carriers, the route from the Middle East Gulf to China remains a top earner, with potential voyage profits over $5 million per trip under favorable conditions. In the container sector, the trans-Pacific route from Asia to the U.S. West Coast continues to offer high returns. Volatility is a key concern. For dry bulk, the Brazil to China iron ore route for Capesize vessels is a heavyweight, driven by relentless industrial demand. This report is built on a straightforward methodology. We analyzed recent freight rate data, vessel operating costs, voyage expenses from 2023 and early 2024. We begin our analysis with the workhorses of globalization, container ships. These vessels are the backbone of global consumer trade, forming a vast conveyor belt that connects manufacturing hubs with markets across the world. They carry the finished goods that fill our stores and homes, everything from the latest smartphones and apparel to furniture and children's toys. The containerization revolution standardized shipping, dramatically lowering costs and enabling the complex international supply chains we rely on today. Without these floating warehouses, the modern consumer economy simply could not exist. The container fleet is highly segmented, with different vessel sizes optimized for specific trade lanes and port capabilities. At the smaller end, feeder vessels, typically carrying under 3,000 TEU, are crucial for hub and spoke networks. They collect containers from major deep-water ports like Singapore or Rotterdam and distribute them to smaller regional ports that cannot accommodate larger ships. They are the final-mile delivery trucks of the sea. Moving up in scale, we have Panamax and Neo-Panamax vessels, ranging from 5,000 to around 14,000 TEU. Their design was historically constrained by the dimensions of the Panama Canal's locks. The canal's 2016 expansion created the Neo-Panamax class, which now dominates trades from Asia to the U.S. East Coast. These ships offer a balance of capacity and versatility, able to serve a wide range of major ports globally. At the top of the pyramid are the ultra-large container vessels, or ULCVs, behemoths capable of carrying over 18,000 TEU. These giants are deployed almost exclusively on the highest volume trunk route, Asia to North Europe. Their immense scale delivers the lowest per container slot cost, but they require massive port infrastructure and deep channels, limiting their operational scope to only the world's largest terminals. For 2025, the Trans-Pacific route from Asia to the U.S. West Coast remains the most lucrative lane for mid to large-size container ships. High and resilient consumer demand in the United States, coupled with the sheer volume of manufactured goods exported from China and Southeast Asia, keeps this lane at the top of the profit rankings. The 2025 outlook is shaped by several key factors. Anticipated moderation in U.S. inflation, which could sustain consumer spending, ongoing inventory management cycles by major retailers, and the ever-present potential for port congestion, which can quickly tighten vessel supply and spike freight rates. Next, we turn to dry bulk carriers, the movers of the world's fundamental raw materials. These ships are designed for efficiency and volume, transporting commodities like iron ore, coal, and grains in massive, unpackaged quantities. They are the foundation of the industrial economy, feeding steel mills, power plants, and food processors. The dry bulk fleet is also segmented by size. Handysize and Supramax vessels are the versatile workhorses, carrying smaller parcels of minor bulks like fertilizers, cement, and steel products into a vast array of ports worldwide. Panamax bulkers, traditionally sized for the Panama Canal, are key players in the global grain and coal trades, notably moving soybeans from the U.S. Gulf to Asia. But for the largest of these vessels, the Cape-size carriers, so named because they are too large for the Panama or Suez canals, and must round the Cape of Good Hope or Cape Horn, the most profitable route is consistently the Brazil to China iron ore trade. This is a quintessential Cape-size voyage. The long-haul distance maximizes ton-mile demand, a key metric for shipping profitability. Furthermore, China's steel industry has a structural need for high-grade iron ore from Brazil's Vale mines to supplement closer sources. The 2025 outlook for this route is tied directly to the health of China's construction and manufacturing sectors. While its real estate market faces headwinds, government stimulus and infrastructure projects continues to support steel demand, keeping freight volumes on this critical artery robust. Finally, we examine tankers, the arteries of the global energy system. These specialized vessels transport the world's liquid energy, from crude oil to refined products like gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. The tanker market is defined by vessel size and cargo type. Product tankers like MR or LR class carry clean petroleum products on shorter regional routes. Crude tankers are categorized by their carrying capacity. The Aframax, carrying around 750,000 barrels, is a versatile vessel used for short to medium haul crude trades in regions like the North Sea, the Caribbean, and Southeast Asia. The Suezmax, designed to transit the Suez Canal fully laden, carries about 1 million barrels and is a mainstay on routes from West Africa and the Black Sea to global refineries. For the largest ships in the global fleet, the Very Large Crude Carriers, or VLCCs, the premier route remains the Middle East Gulf to China. These titans of the sea carry approximately 2 million barrels of crude oil on a single voyage. This trade lane represents the single largest movement of oil on the planet, directly linking the immense production capacity of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Kuwait, with China's insatiable energy demand. The profitability of this route is a barometer for the health of the global economy. The 2025 outlook hinges on OPEC+ production decisions, the pace of China's economic activity, and geopolitical stability in the Middle East. Any disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, through which nearly all of this oil must pass, can send shockwaves through the energy and tanker markets, instantly altering the profitability landscape. Liquefied natural gas carriers are among the most sophisticated and expensive ships at sea. They transport natural gas cooled to -162 degrees Celsius. The highest earning routes for 2025 are projected to be from the U.S. Gulf to Europe and from the U.S. Gulf to Northeast Asia. Roll-on, roll-off ro-ro ships are essentially floating multi-story car parks. Their primary purpose is to transport wheeled cargo. For pure car and truck carriers, the dominant trade lane is from Northeast Asia to North America and Europe. Offshore support vessels serve the offshore oil, gas, and wind energy industries. They provide essential services to offshore installations. The most profitable regions for OSVs in 2025 are U.S. Gulf of Mexico, Brazil offshore, West Africa offshore, and the North Sea. We begin with the marathon of the dry bulk trade, moving vast quantities of iron ore from the mines of Brazil to the steel mills of China. This route is a cornerstone of global industrial supply chains. Our subject is a standard 180,000 deadweight ton Cape-size bulk carrier, undertaking a voyage of approximately 12,000 nautical miles one way. The total round trip, including the ballast leg back to Brazil, can take around 90 to 100 days, a significant commitment of capital and resources. Let's construct a detailed profit and loss statement for this voyage. First, revenue. Assuming a freight rate of $25 per metric ton for the 180,000-ton cargo, the gross freight revenue is a substantial $4,500,000. From this, we deduct voyage costs. The largest variable is bunker fuel. For a 95-day round trip, this vessel might consume around 4,000 metric tons of very low sulfur fuel oil, or VLSFO. At a market price of $650 per ton, the total fuel bill comes to $2,600,000. Next are port costs. At the loading port in Brazil, like Ponta da Madeira, and the discharge port in China, such as Qingdao, these fees for pilots, tugs, and agency services can total approximately $400,000. Since this route rounds the Cape of Good Hope, we avoid major canal transit fees, a key economic feature of the trade. Total voyage costs therefore amount to $3 million. Subtracting this from our revenue of 4.5 million leaves a voyage profit of $1,500,000. To find the time charter equivalent, or TCE, we also account for daily operating expenses, or OPEX, covering crew, maintenance, and insurance, at around $8,000 per day. Over 95 days, this is $760,000. The net profit before financing is thus $740,000. The TCE, the vessel's daily earnings rate, calculates to approximately $15,790 per day. However, this profitability is highly sensitive to market volatility. Let's run a sensitivity analysis. A 30% increase in freight rates, a common swing in this market, would boost the TCE to over $29,000 per day, turning a good voyage into an exceptional one. Conversely, a 30% drop would slash the TCE to just over $1,500 per day, barely covering operating costs. Fuel price shocks are just as critical. A 20% spike in bunker costs would erode the TCE down to about $10,300 per day. Contingencies are also a major factor. A week of weather delays around the Cape of Good Hope or unexpected port congestion in China could add over $200,000 in costs, wiping out a significant portion of the voyage's profit. Now, let's turn to the liquid energy trade. The Middle East Gulf to China route is the world's superhighway for crude oil, and the Very Large Crude Carrier, or VLCC, is the undisputed king of that road. These tankers carry around 2 million barrels of crude oil per voyage. Freight for this sector is calculated using the world-scale system, a standardized method that provides a baseline flat rate for any given route. Owners and charterers then negotiate a percentage of this rate. For our analysis, let's assume a voyage from Ras Tanura, Saudi Arabia, to Ningbo, China. The round trip covers about 45 days. If the negotiated rate is world scale 70 or 70% of the flat rate, this translates to a lump sum freight revenue of approximately $7,500,000. The cost structure is similar to the Capesize, but with different figures. A VLCC on this 45-day journey will consume about 2,500 metric tons of VLSFO. At $650 per ton, the fuel cost is $1,625,000. Port charges in the Middle East and China are higher for these giant vessels, often totaling around $600,000. This brings total voyage costs to $2,225,000. The voyage profit is therefore a healthy $5,275,000. With daily OPEX for a modern VLCC at around $11,000, the total OPEX for the trip is $495,000. This leaves a net profit of $4,780,000 and a powerful TCE of about $117,000 per day. The VLCC market is famously volatile. A drop in the negotiated rate to world scale 50 would reduce the TCE to around $75,000 per day, still very profitable. However, a surge to world scale 100, which can happen during periods of tight supply or geopolitical tension, would send the TCE soaring to over $180,000 per day. On the cost side, a 20% increase in bunker prices would reduce the TCE by about $7,200 per day. A key contingency on this route is navigating the Strait of Malacca, a notorious choke point. Any disruption or congestion here can add days and significant cost to the voyage, directly impacting profitability. Finally, we examine the engine of retail globalization, the trans-Pacific container trade, moving finished goods from the factories of Asia to the consumers of North America. Our vessel is a 15,000 TEU, or 20-foot equivalent unit, ultra-large container vessel on the head haul from Shanghai to Los Angeles. Unlike bulk trades, container shipping revenue is earned per box. A typical round trip, including port time, takes about 42 days. Let's assume an average freight rate of $2,500 per TEU for the head haul. For a vessel carrying a full load of 15,000 TEU, the gross revenue for this single leg is a massive $37,500,000. The return leg, or backhaul, carries far less cargo, often empties or low-value goods, generating minimal revenue, which we will exclude for this P&L. The costs are equally immense. A vessel of this size consumes roughly 3,000 metric tons of VLSFO for the 42-day round trip, costing $1,950,000 at our assumed price. Port and terminal handling charges are a huge component, easily reaching $1,500,000 for a single port call due to the complex crane and yard operations. This brings voyage cost to $3,450,000. Daily OPEX for a ULCV is high, around $25,000 per day, totaling $1,050,000 for the voyage. The net profit for the voyage is therefore a staggering $33 million, resulting in a TCE of nearly $786,000 per day. This extraordinary profitability highlights why the post-pandemic era saw record earnings for container lines. However, it's a double-edged sword. A 30% drop in freight rates, which has been observed as markets normalize, would still yield a TCE over $500,000 per day. But if rates were to fall by 70% from this peak, the TCE would plummet to around $200,000 per day. The primary contingency is landside logistics. A single day of port congestion or rail network delays in Los Angeles can create a cascading effect, costing the line millions in disrupted schedules and asset utilization, demonstrating that in container shipping, time is unequivocally money. The shipping industry operates in a state of perpetual motion. It's driven by the relentless boom and bust cycle. Freight rates can double or halve in a matter of weeks. This volatility is the single greatest risk to route profitability. Global shipping routes depend on a few narrow maritime choke points. These are points of extreme vulnerability. Any disruption can immediately and severely impact route profitability. A closure forces vessels to take much longer alternate routes. The shipping industry is facing a wave of new environmental regulations that represent a significant constraint on profitability. These regulations are forcing operators to make difficult and expensive choices between retrofitting and investing in new builds. The most reliable path to protecting profits is through rigorous cost management. The most effective tactic is slow steaming. Advanced voyage optimization software combines weather data, ocean currents, and vessel performance models to calculate the most fuel-efficient route. A modern, fuel-efficient eco-ship will have a significant competitive advantage. Lower fuel consumption allows higher earnings even at the same freight rate. Vessel pooling allows operators to secure larger contracts and enables more efficient positioning, minimizing ballast days. As we conclude our analysis, we have navigated the complex, ever-shifting currents of global shipping to chart a course through the most profitable waters for 2025. The journey through this report has revealed a landscape where opportunity and volatility are two sides of the same coin. We've dissected the core metrics, examined vessel-specific profitability, and explored the nuanced dynamics of specialized markets. Now, we consolidate these findings into a clear, actionable playbook designed to guide strategic decisions in the year ahead. The central theme is clear. In a market defined by tight margins and unpredictable events, proactive, data-driven management is not just an advantage, it is the essential determinant of success. Profitability is the direct result of a finely tuned equation, matching the right vessel to the right route under the right market conditions at the right time. This isn't a matter of luck, it's a discipline. It requires a deep understanding of your fleet's capabilities, a constant pulse on market freight rates, and an unwavering focus on operational efficiency. The most successful operators don't just react to the market, they anticipate it, positioning their assets to capture value before it becomes obvious to everyone else. This strategic alignment is the bedrock upon which sustainable profits are built. Our first principle is foundational: measure everything. In shipping, what gets measured gets managed. Operators must relentlessly track time charter equivalent, or TCE, earnings for every single voyage. This is your North Star metric, cutting through the noise of gross freight rates to reveal true voyage profitability. It accounts for voyage-specific costs like bunker fuel, port charges, and canal fees, providing a standardized basis for comparing the performance of different routes and vessels. Without a rigorous TCE tracking system, you are flying blind, unable to distinguish genuinely lucrative voyages from those that merely look good on the surface. This data is the lifeblood of informed decision-making. Second, you must aggressively manage costs. While you cannot control freight market rates, you have significant influence over your expenses. Cost control is the most reliable lever for protecting and enhancing margins, especially during periods of revenue volatility. This goes beyond just negotiating bunker prices. It involves a comprehensive approach to both voyage costs and daily operating expenses, or OPEX. Are you optimizing your procurement of stores and spares? Is your planned maintenance schedule designed to maximize vessel uptime and efficiency? Are you investing in hull coatings and propeller polishing to minimize drag and reduce fuel consumption? Every dollar saved on the cost side flows directly to the bottom line. This relentless pursuit of efficiency is a cultural mindset, not a one-time project. The third principle is to choose your routes and cargoes based on specific vessel strengths. A fleet is not a collection of interchangeable units. It is a portfolio of specialized assets. Deploy your most modern, fuel-efficient vessels on the longest, most fuel-intensive routes, where their technological advantages will generate the greatest savings. Conversely, older, less efficient tonnage may be better suited for shorter voyages or for markets where speed is less critical than capacity. Consider the unique characteristics of each ship: its size, its consumption curve, its cargo handling gear, and its ice class rating. Matching these attributes to market opportunities is a strategic puzzle. Solving it correctly maximizes the earning potential of every asset in your fleet. Finally, our fourth principle: actively hedge and mitigate risks. The shipping industry is exposed to a myriad of risks, from fuel price spikes and geopolitical conflicts to regulatory changes and unexpected port delays. Hope is not a strategy. A robust risk management framework is essential. Use a balanced chartering strategy, combining spot market exposure with period charters to lock in cash flow. Employ financial instruments like forward freight agreements and bunker swaps to hedge against adverse price movements and create cost certainty. Invest in sophisticated weather routing services to avoid delays and reduce fuel consumption. Proactive risk management transforms uncertainty from a threat into a manageable variable. To translate these principles into immediate action, here is a 90-day checklist. In the first 30 days, your focus should be on data and diagnostics. Conduct a full audit of your voyage accounting systems. Is your TCE calculation accurate and consistent across the fleet? Establish baseline KPIs for fuel efficiency, port turnaround times, and OPEX for each vessel. In the next 30 days, move to optimization. Based on your data, identify the bottom 10% of voyages by profitability and analyze the root causes. Initiate a pilot program for a new voyage optimization software or an enhanced hull maintenance plan on a select few vessels. By the 90-day mark, you should be focused on strategic implementation. Develop a formal vessel deployment strategy that explicitly matches ship efficiency to route length. Review your chartering and hedging policies to ensure they align with your risk appetite for 2025. This structured approach builds momentum and delivers tangible results quickly. The most successful players in 2025 will not be those who simply own ships. They will be the ones who master the information that flows around them. They will understand the risks, measure them with precision, and manage them with wisdom and foresight. In the world of shipping, timing is critical, but it is the strategic, disciplined management of both assets and information that truly separates the most profitable operators from the rest of the pack. The course for 2025 is set. The tools are in your hands. The time to act is now.